evolution and blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's the Self-Love Show. We're here again. Yay. With my co-host, Trish Wright. Yes. Welcome. And we have a beautiful guest today, my dearest sister, Natanya Ruth. And I'm so excited to have you with us. Yay.
Yay.
It's going to be a really powerful show today. So for our viewers that are always with us, thank you for tuning in. And for our new people, welcome. This is a really powerful show about just the deepest exploration of self-love. And so our guest today has brought such an amazing wealth of practice from her life experience. We're so excited to share about her. I'm going to give a little bio background. So Natanya Ruth is a transformational coach, retreat designer and guide, breathwork facilitator, creator of GIFT Mastermind Coaching and GIFT 200-hour yoga teacher training. Amazing. And host of the Go Gift Yourself podcast. Serving hundreds of soul seekers across the globe, Natanya infuses her international retreats, trainings, specialty workshops, and online offerings with ecstatic movement, Vedic rituals, and co-creation practices. Natanya is on a mission to support your sacred breakthrough as you release self-doubt, anxiety, and burnout, and know and trust your true nature as pure, loving, and limitless creative force. Yes, that's so good. So today's show is about awaken your creative force, release self-doubt, and rise. So do you have the impulse to write, to travel, create a play, or serve a community? Do you have doubts and put those callings to sleep? So Natanya is here to speak to us today and invite us forward into releasing, be fearless, bold, graceful, and unapologetic expression through creativity, movement, breath, visioning, silliness, and spiritual prompts and practices. So when you receive this inspiration to create, to do, to move, to connect, to support others, and to serve and rise, you'll learn to follow this impulse and aligned action through releasing self-doubt and rise as the glorious divine expression that you are. So yes, so good. Thank you.
Woo-hoo.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Dawn and Trish. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to share and just be here. Yay. I'm like all lit up about it.
We are too.
I have some questions already. See, they're just coming. I was in advance.
Awesome.
I'm hearing a lot of people in our communities, or in my communities, which I have an expansive genres of people in my world. And some people are asking, sharing, I don't feel very creative. I'm not really inspired right now. There's a lot of energy. I'm overwhelmed. There's a lot going on, and I can't seem to get the oomph in, and I felt some of that too. Is like, oh, I'm like, as the world opens up from COVID, this deep lockdown, and we're in spring, I'm like, oh gosh, where to put my energy, who to hang out with, what to really focus on, and where's that inspiration coming from? So my question to you to start us off is, how might someone who feels shut down awaken their creative force?
Amazing. Thank you, Trish. That's a great question. And I feel you. I mean, it's been such an intense period of stagnation on so many levels. And so really the first thing I suggest is getting into your body as much as you possibly can. And that can be doing yoga, that can be doing deep connected breath work, which I'll be happy to share a little bit later on. Even just putting on some rad music and jumping up and down and shaking out your body, just kind of moving that stuck energy. And another great thing to do is to get yourself outside as much as you can. Just be outside, right? So even if that movement, that yoga, that breathing, that dancing is outside, you're enlivening your system, right? And you're feeding off of that creative force that's within you and around you. And then the other thing that I really recommend is scoop up some mentors. And if that is like getting on a podcast like this, or just looking around and seeing, okay, what's the new music out there? What are the new podcasts that are coming up that are talking about inspiring things? You know, who are the people that are talking about spirituality or social justice or whatever the themes are that maybe once sparked your creativity that you haven't delved into again? Mentorship is such an important part of keeping yourself fresh as a creative. So those are kind of my 3 hot tips.
Awesome. I remember, was it Robin Rivera that said also that is like, get yourself, you know, a coach, get yourself some people who are going to push you forward and really like, you know.
We're always promoting that on the show because it's so important. Like coaches have coaches.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
every coach has a coach because it's so needed to be able to see where your curriculum lies and to be able to lean in so that you can keep being expanded and keep accessing this creative, alive force that's inside of you, right? That's always willing to bring more and more and more expression. But it's really so important to support ourselves in that journey of allowing ourselves to, yes, I can allow that support in.
Yes. What I really love, you know, I mean, we've heard for a long time this terminology, follow your bliss. And I've shared this on the show before, but yeah, right. I can see you smiling. I'm like, yeah. But looks differently now. It feels and looks different to me now in my 30s, in my mid 30s, that it's no longer about pleasure seeking, but really what feels wholesome and alive in my heart, in my being. And you know, Ellen and I are always talking about inspired living. I'm always a big proponent of like, anytime we want to push our business or push something, I'm like, whoa, is this coming from an inspired place or are you obligated? Because you know what, nobody wants that. And the energy of obligation is just so, for you all listening, the energy of obligation is actually pretty destructive because it's a drawing energy rather than a giving authentic energy. So if you're feeling obligated to do something, take some time to really look into yourself, because this might be the piece that's like crunching your creative force.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for me, you know, I definitely learned early on, like, okay, have your goals. Like, you're supposed to go to college, like you're supposed to get a job and, you know, be responsible, whatever those things are, and like check off your list. But it was all obligations. It was all this sense of duty. And I realized that like my inspiration had fallen asleep because it wasn't, I wasn't shown how to move from inspired action. So when I kind of made the choice to like in my 20s to sort of derail the checklist and go with my gut and follow my intuition more and more, I was like, oh, I'm kind of creating a new way of being, a more feminine way of being. Like I'm midwifing my intuition and I'm following it. And I don't know if it's going to lead me to any check boxes, but that's okay. Like, you know, tuning into my intuition and allowing it to show me a truth that I won't expect is such an exciting and inspiring journey. And I feel like so many of us as women, as coaches, we're reminding each other like, hey, it doesn't always have to be about having your boxes checked. It's more important for us to create this new way of being, of just trust. trust yourself and see how life opens up for you.
Trusting ourselves is everything.
Yeah.
That is my main curriculum in life is trust. I realized that it was my quality that I carried forward in graduate school that I really was working to fully embody, because that anchoring, that deep knowing of trust, trusting my intuition, that always making aligned choices from my intuition is going to lead to the deepest soul fulfillment that my soul is here to experience. And it's not about goal line processes, right? That what we're speaking about at graduate college, you know, all the things, that's a goal line activity. But when we lean into trusting our intuition, right? Such a sacred right, a sacred birthright, our sacred privilege that we're here to experience as a human, a spiritual being. Leaning into that trust inside is everything. It creates the most fulfilled, heart-centered, dream-driven, like soul alive life.
I likened living out of obligation in one of my recent writings in my blog post as the nothing in the never ending story.
Yeah.
And it really,
Oh gosh.
yeah, it's really, really funny. Living in the obligation or living in the should is like living in the nothing if it were a place. It's dark, it's everything. It makes everything a chore. Either you want to fight it, run from it, or it generally feels disempowering. It sucks the joy out of human interaction, out of our lives, and out of the connection with others. So, you know, I've been hearing a lot of shoulds from a lot of people lately, as well as we like, oh, you know, I'm now in the I should go hang out with people, or I should be doing whatever it might be. And here's one for me. Here's a real honest one is I'm really just struggling with my knee right now. And I have like this nerve pain. It's exhausting. Again, I was telling you behind the scenes is that I woke up at 4:30 this morning with throbbing knee pain, and it lasted for hours, and it was in my, like, I don't even understand it because it's not consistent. So I can't even like feel like I can find love for it yet. It's like on one side of my leg, and then it's in my calf, and then it's on the other side, and it's moving around, and it's throbbing and burning. And I'm like, oh my God. But what I'm sharing is that I have this place of like, it's spring. I should be active. I should be out there dancing, which I love. I should be hiking. I should be more productive with my business. And the universe is literally like, whoa, lady. What should you be doing? It's been a really interesting place for me to, how do I live in inspired living? How do I live in inspired loving in a place where I can't literally do the things that I really love to do? How do I twist the dials to realign? And it's been a really interesting, creative expression. Beating is one of those things.
I just want to say I really acknowledge what you're experiencing right now, and send so much compassion and love to your knee and to your journey, and light ahead to your awakening through this experience, so that your body can find balance and wholeness and pain-free.
Definitely. Thank you, Dawn. It's definitely giving me a lot of understanding for others and their pain. It's a deeper learning and lesson and empathetic practice in compassion, in connecting with others. And that actually is part of reawakening my creative force. Is like, oh, through my pain, I'm finding time to write a lot.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Amazing. Yeah.
I do have a question about that.
Sorry, go ahead, Trish. Yeah.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, please.
My question is there a correlation between awakening your inspiration or awakening your creative force and pain?
Wow. That's an amazing question.
They're pretty random.
Wow. Okay. I love this question. Okay. So first, I was just going to say yes, sending you so much love and ease and healing in this journey with your injury, and in knowing that this is a gift for you, right? It's like you're finding that gift of creativity, stillness, slowing down, there, you know, self deepening your self-care, right? It's like, how can I get creative with the ways that I care for myself in this? Um, and yeah, is creativity, does it have to come from a pressurized, painful place? This is what I'm hearing you ask. Yes.
Um, not necessarily. Does it have to be? Or I know that it doesn't have to be. The
Okay.
question looks like there is a correlation between art and struggle.
Yes.
And there is but there also is like, can you cultivate?
Mhm.
Yeah, let's just talk about cultivation of course.
I absolutely think there's a correlation between pain and creativity. If you think about the most painful things we've experienced, creativity can absolutely come out of those time periods of our life. Like, I mean, I can speak of my own journey of like the healing, the long, arduous healing process of my father, healing that. I was super creative in that time period. I became a hula hoop artist. I was a dancer for years. Like I thought creativity was my path to joy, to find joy that was missing in my childhood.
Mm.
So I absolutely believe there's a correlation between pain and creativity for sure.
Mm-hmm. I do as well, in that when you've experienced pain, trauma, maybe subjugation or being squelched, then there's like a response to that with deep and expansive expression. Like I grew up in kind of a repressive household. So when I left that place, I just went full throttle into creativity, doing theater, making music, you know, as an expression of that. But I also saw, when I studied theater in France, that I was too busy and I was working too hard to actually make authentic art. And I actually saw my struggle as something that was keeping me from the spaciousness and the rest and the relaxation that can also be very supportive for the creative process. It's like, if you have the means to be an artist in Paris, right? You have all the time and space to think, to muse, to let the city affect and influence you, and you create work from this spacious, open place. Certainly that work is different than the work that comes from, you know, in a response to struggle. But it is like, but like having that spaciousness, having that time to meditate, kind of like what you're speaking to, Trish, in this period of like slowing down. Like, when I have the time and space, I can actually create in another way. So I would say both conditions create, yeah, an awakening of creative response, but just in different ways.
I love that. I was just contemplating some of the most beautiful pieces of art that I have seen. You know, think about your favorite artists and how a lot of their the most amazing pieces are coming from places of struggle or places of inequity. Like Banksy shows a lot of that. Like street art is one of my favorites because it is so like it's evocative.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I was going to share as well. I was just speaking with an artist, a clown performer and a visual artist who performs in Las Vegas, in the Absinthe show. Her name is Heidi Ryder, and she was on my podcast, Go Gift Yourself, and she was talking about she does create from a pressurized place, but when she's not in the throes of experiencing that pressure, she intentionally puts herself in the public eye so that she essentially embarrasses herself. And through that embarrassment, she's able to create more edgy, authentic work. So it's like she'll go out and do, public improvisation and public art making so that she has a viewership that's giving her that extra eye that makes her feel that intensity and pressure and shapes the way she creates her work. So I feel like, yeah, some artists just work really well under that like pressurized social perspective. And some are like, I would rather just be alone in my studio and, have my little cone of silence.
Mm.
That's so good.
I've added your Spotify podcast link. If
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
That and listening. And I'm going to invite our listeners and our viewers to write in or to share some of their experiences in their either lack of creative force or how they've had, Renaissance experiences with, like developing more creativity. I know that you have a sweet little practice for us maybe in a moment.
Like, where is your creative force? Just curious with our viewers, like where is the aliveness for you, or is it lacking for you? And also to correlate to the pain aspect we were speaking of, is that something you're experiencing also? Just curious, because as we age and grow, we go through these things with our bodies, right? Our bodies always are shifting and changing as the human experience. So can we correlate that to your creative force, your expression? Where are you at in that journey with yourself? We want to know these things.
Yes. So type it in and let us share. We did have a listener, Subhash. I hope that's correct. It says, "Hi from India." Oh, I love what your work is and what you're sharing. It's so important in these times to really have access to your creative force, or actually, like, when you feel like you fall off, like how to get back on the horse or creative horse.
The creative force horse.
Yeah,
get creative force horse.
This is what happens when I don't sleep. It just goes all over my migraines. Thanks for loving me here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm so just deeply loving your energy and your focus on creativity and rising. And I'd love to hear a little bit more, if this is okay. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your mission and how you got here. Like, how did you create this body of work?
Thank you, Trish. And I so appreciate your energy and the space to share this. It's a lifelong journey for me. I always knew I wanted to be a performer, and growing up, I was told over and over again that there really wasn't space for me to do that. There was a lot of fear, especially from my mother, about being productive and being able to make a living and being able to support myself. And she was somebody who I only recognized later had PTSD from surviving World War II, and was really just, just her whole lens was about fear. And for a long time, I let that mean a lot about me, and I just wanted her approval. And so I stayed in a fear place. Over time, eventually, I advocated for myself to be part of this youth theater group that I did in my high school years. And so I finally got the place to like put myself out on stage. But at that time, because I had been stifling my voice for so many years, I was living in a shadow of really low self-esteem. And again and again, I was confronted with that low self-esteem until I got to a point in my adulthood where I was like, okay, enough is enough. Like I'm a creative force. I have it inside. This call within me needs to come out. And I kind of shifted gears. I was in my early 30s. I had already gotten my degree in teaching, and I was like, okay, I'm putting it all to the side so I can pursue my passion of theater and acting. I was living in San Francisco at the time. I went to study theater in California, in Poland, in Paris. I just went full throttle into like what my heart had been calling me to do
Yes.
for my whole life.
Yes.
And it was fucking hard. Like, sorry, it was it was F-bomb hard.
You can say that here. It's okay. Cool.
It's okay. We say it too sometimes.
Okay, great. Like I suddenly was around all of this community of artists, this community of people who had been dedicating their life to standing on the edge, putting their work out there, and I was learning all these amazing tools of finding your body first, finding your character in your body first. And that's what really deepened my yoga practice. And I started getting more into breathing and meditation. How do I embody the truth of a character through my body? How do I release my mind here and step into my body and the wisdom of my heart? And my whole life changed. I went to teaching part-time. I started making collaborative theater with, clowns and weirdos in California and then in New York. And I mean, I definitely experienced failure. I definitely had experiences where I studied theater in Paris, and I was like criticized for my work over and over again by my professors. And later I realized that was teaching me how to defend my work and how to keep showing up in the face of hypercriticism, which was amazing as well. But as a result, I was able to birth this a collaborative theater project, a group of 14 women that was based on the story of my grandmother. It was all about like my matrilineal line. So it was like through the synthesis of a decade plus of theater immersion and then studying yoga and breathwork, I finally birthed an original show that was about my mother and the trauma that she had received, my grandmother, the way that creative impulse was stifled, and then I was able to express it with this group, this ensemble of women. And it just became more and more clear to me that my work was about creating spiritual connection, healing, expression, particularly for women, particularly for like the stifled matrilineal line. And I left my teaching career for good and moved back to my hometown and opened up a studio space. And I was just offering community arts there, yoga, meditation, breath work. And so I've been doing that for 5 years, taking people on retreats. And now since COVID, there's been this new, invitation for realignment. And I closed my physical studio and I've been offering all of my work, my trainings online and outside when the weather allows. And it's all about how do I tune in? How do I release any blockages? How do I let go of this ancestral trauma and show up and rise as that effortless, expressive, creative force that is the dream of my foremothers.
Beautiful. I really acknowledge your work, Natanya. I feel so blessed to know you in the way we have intimate conversations weekly. I feel so thankful. Like, I've been coaching Natanya now for months now, and it's such a profound experience to hold space with you weekly and really see you rise in your experience, support you so deeply in your awakening through the shift of COVID and your business, and see you stepping further in. Is just so, I celebrate your journey, and I celebrate who you are and the gift that you bring into this world through this rich embodied practice and work you've experienced in your life. And it's so true, the healing piece, right? Like, you're weaving this story of deep trauma healing of your background, and you're embodying it, right? It's no longer like, oh, those stories, I don't have to play them out anymore. I don't have to carry out that matrilineage line in the way it's been. And actually, I can choose my creativity, my aliveness, my life force to be embodied here now. It has birthright to be here. And I see you doing it.
Yes.
Like, every week you choose choices to shift into that place of like, this, I'm laying this old story that wants to rise occasionally, right? And it's like, no, I can see the deep connection. That's my mother's. That's my grandmother's. That piece is my father's. Like, whoa, it's so profound. And I can say I've done I'm doing that work in my own life too, as a coach in my own story. And Trish, being your friend and witnessing and coaching together with you, this is the work. Each soul has this opportunity, right? The hero's journey to, like, what are the stories that don't serve us that I'm just unconsciously living out, and how is that stifling my creative force?
Yeah.
The task is not to seek for love, but to seek the barriers we built against it.
Yes.
And that's truly it. It's like, the places where we're not accepting ourselves is the places where we don't accept the world and shuts us down. Such a beautiful conversation. Like, oh, inspiration. Yeah. I can feel it right in me. I just want to say, on a personal note, I'm totally a clown too. If you ever want to clown,
yay! Woo!
But there's such an alignment here. Like, I did theater in high school too, and I married a theater actor. Like, I literally married a clown, you know what I mean? So it's like, I've been Burning Man a million times, artist myself, performer, all the things. So it's like, there's an alignment here between us in that way.
So
beautiful, amazing.
Yeah. Another one.
Bring
This is the one thing that I've been having the hardest time with about my knee. Is like, do you know what open floor is?
I don't know.
Open floor is Gestalt meets 5 rhythms, but it's an embodied therapy practice that allows you to express your whatever it is, your everything out without words, but in art and in dance. And that is actually the practices that help me, is this expressive dance. I mean, like, I'm flying all over the place, and I can't do that right now. I can't dance. And so there's a place that I feel a little stifled here. If you had any advice for me, what would you talk to me about?
I mean,
viewers and our listeners, please, if you have something that you want to discuss, or if you have a question that you have, like, let us know. And if you also resonate with this, conversation, let us know here too.
I mean, I would definitely invite you to practice breath work. I would definitely invite you to practice yin yoga or resting yoga, like something that allows you to still move your body and to invigorate your cells, but just in a different tone. One thing that I learned back in the day when I was studying Kathakali, which is a theater form created in southern India, they they use their eyes only to express emotion. So we started learning like eye exercises for expressing emotion. So even just like feeling it out with your eyes and like moving your eyes around and like noticing how big your eyes can get. Like this alone, it's also really good for your vision, actually. It's like eye yoga. But
This is also very clowny too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. It's very clowny, right? Like one of the things clowns learn how to do as well is like just expressing in the face, right?
Yes.
Like, so it's like you do these practices where you pinch everything closed really tight and then you pop open wide, you know. So so you can even just be like, okay, I can't do it in my body, but I'll just do it in my face. You know, tongue exercises, you know. But and even also just shaking out your body, right? Like just doing some shaking can help relieve anything that you're holding on to. Even if you can't shake your legs, like shaking out your arms, shaking out your shoulders, yeah, fluttering your lips, all that stuff. It's moving that energy. So it's like, okay, if I can't move it here, where else can I move it?
That's
I hope that was supportive.
yes.
I also want to just bring forward the whole expression of I can't, right? Like buying into that philosophy or thought process. Is that serving us? Because really, it's just, I can, but I'm going to choose that's not self-loving, right? I'm going to honor that I need to be more still in this part of my body.
I
And
could.
let go of saying I
It's really
can.
going to hurt.
Yeah.
I can, and it causes more pain and suffering than
Yeah.
I prefer to live into this world.
I get to choose to honor myself here by being still. And I can move my elbow.
Right. Right. Yeah, I can do this. Yeah. Another amazing practice that I find if you're feeling like your body's not wanting to do things is sound healing, like giving yourself mantra. If you have a Sanskrit mantra, you can feed your cells and give yourself that vibrational alignment. You know, I love the Ganesha mantra, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, right? Like I'm releasing obstacles, any obstacles in my mind, any obstacles in my body. I love using Aham Prema. That's one of my favorite. I am divine love. And so just nourishing your cells, right? We can try that for a minute if you'd like. Just like close your eyes and let your hands rest, palm up on your legs.
Okay, let me.
And just take a full breath in through your nose and fill your belly with breath. And then take a nice long exhale out the mouth and sigh out the mouth. Yeah, when you sigh, it's relieving your nervous system even more. You might shake your body a little. Okay, let's try that again. Inhale through your nose, fill your belly, your ribs, your back, your chest with breath, with prana. And then let it go out the mouth. Nice long exhale. Maybe shimmy out the body. All right, now we're going to bring in this mantra, Aham Prema, I am divine love, and let your whole body fill with the vibrations of this aligning mantra. You can chant along with me, or you can just enjoy the sound. Inhale. Aham Prema, Aham Prema, Aham Prema, Aham Prema, Aham Prema, Aham Brahma, 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 Aham Brahma. Looking to the third eye here for a moment, just feeling the vibrations, noticing how the body aligns here. Taking a deep breath in through the nose, hold the breath at the top of the inhale, draw the belly to the spine, and look to the space between the eyebrows, the third eye, the seat of your intuition. When you can't hold the breath any longer, take a nice long exhale out the mouth, let out a sigh here. And maybe flutter your lips. Shimmy out the body. Bring your hands together in front of the heart. Rub the palms together, stimulating the nerves. And then press the palms over the eyes. And release and open the eyes. Coming back. Ah, yeah. So that's just a little example of a way that you can nourish your system without actually moving. And I just wanted to share one of my dear friends, BB Force, who I also interviewed on my podcast. She became quadriplegic in her late 30s, early 40s. And she was a triathlete, a yogini, a physical therapist, and had a traumatic injury that left her body, motionless. And we practice mantra together. She has taught me so much about the grace and spaciousness that ultimate stillness brings you into being. She's such an amazing teacher. And as someone who's experienced my own injuries early in my life, I had a traumatic injury in my early 20s in a bicycle accident that left me grounded for a long time. Like part of like that part of the journey of like learning, okay, there are other ways to find peace, to find spaciousness, to find love, to find movement. These are such rich opportunities for deepening the way that you heal and listen to yourself. There's always more space inside.
That's the truth, isn't it? Can you tell us a little bit about your journal, your gifting journal, gift yourself journal?
Oh, yes. So I have like a hi, good morning, Scott.
Hi, Scott. We love you.
So I have this downloadable PDF that's actually a gift yourself care tracking tool. So basically, you can monitor all the ways on the daily that you're deepening your self care. And I have in there meditation, breath work, journaling, gifting yourself affirmations, communicating authentically and vulnerably, like all of these ways that we practice self care actually create more space for us to show up as that wise, creative expression. So it's really just a space for you to monitor the ways that you're showing up for yourself every day, because you can't, I don't want to say can't, Opening yourself up to being the conduit of divine creativity that is you. There's a practice there of self-care, right? Like before I came on this wonderful call with you, I was like, okay, I've got to gift myself some movement and some breath and some outdoor time. And so I went for a walk and I breathed in the air and I absorbed the sunshine because I knew that that was going to feed me showing up here in this co-creative space with you. So this is, your invitation to find the ways to nurture that creative spark within you so that it opens up more and more.
Great. Well, let's take a look at it. Thank you for sharing.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Y'all need to just be very patient with me because this is my first time sharing screen through this particular app.
No worries.
Look at it.
I did it. Yes. Look at that.
So this is what,
yeah.
If you click the link that I've shared in the chat, you will, and put your email address in, you will get this I Gift My Self-Care. And it's the 12-week self-care practice tracker. Oh, look at you, how freaking sweet and cute you are.
Oh, yeah, and it's actually it's downloadable and it's an interactive PDF. So you don't even need to print it out. Like you can just track everything and click on, it's little check box clicks. You can type in your reflections there. So when you download it, it's interactive when you get it.
For all
and then you can reuse it. Super green.
So good. Dawn, you're muted.
Awesome. We can't hear you, Dawn.
I still had myself muted from the earlier. I said, thank you for giving us the sacred gift. It's so beautiful to give this as a gift.
Yes.
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just hope everyone reaches such a beautiful new awareness with themselves with this tool.
Thank you so much.
Good practice in, tracking is really important. Let's talk about that a little bit. It's like tracking your progress is really important, especially like sometimes the daily look might not seem like you're being productive. But if you look back, sometimes reading your journals from a year ago or, having Facebook memories come up and you're like, oh my God, that's where I was a year ago. Like those are really, that's quality right there. That's quality understanding of self. And this is also one of those pieces is like tracking your progress and tracking your self-love and making that commitment is crucial.
Self-honoring. And can really see that, give you that reinforced knowing of like, oh, I am making spiritual progress with whatever your body of work is, your spiritual curriculum. I am making progress, and like acknowledge yourself of like, oh, wow, I really am making progress, even if it seems slow. Because sometimes our life can really, and I know with COVID, it has brought in a lot of like way slow, way down, right? And like reassess all the parts of our life. So it's like I've had a lot of conversations over the year around this very concept of like slowing down and lots of change and really assessing like, oh, wow, I am still deeply evolving here and making beautiful progress on the soul line for my life and for my spiritual curriculum.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I do this in a very interesting way. I take pictures of my life a lot. The millennial in me forgets a lot of things. I don't know if anybody else has this experience, but my memory doesn't keep a lot of things very well. It doesn't organize well. So I take a lot of pictures, and I've started taking pictures of when I'm not feeling good, like, images of myself or images of things that are happening in my life so that I can go back. And I actually spend a lot of time looking back into those photos because I'm like tracking some of the experiences that I've had and some of the places to like, oh, that was around this time. Okay, I see, and starting to see the imagery of my patterning. It's very interesting.
Mm.
But I'm going to use my new tracker.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and and feel free. Like I put in like, meditation and writing and things as self-care. But if there are other self-care practices that aren't listed there, definitely write them in or type them in. Yeah, I mean, again, for me, creating something like this is really in response to the women from my matrilineal line, and a lot of the women I know that come to me as coaching clients who talk about not having time for themselves, like having the impulse to write or to travel blog or to start their own business, but they're just not making their self-care or their dreams a priority. They're subjugating what they truly want because they're taking care of their families, or because they've made a decision that what they want is less important than someone else. And this was something I was raised with as well. So it's like, okay, let's reprogram that. Let's remind ourselves that when we're focusing on self-care, we're actually showing, we're inviting the world around us to reorient, right? And we're inviting in that spaciousness to honor our heart's calling, right? To honor our intuition and our heart's calling. So it's like when I create a tool like this, I'm like, what kind of tool would I want? Oh, yes, this.
Gorgeous. Really acknowledge this beautiful work that you've brought forward, and to really dovetail on what you just said about the self-honoring and really honoring what your heart wants. When you make that choice, right? When you lean into saying yes to what your heart wants, then the universe backs it up. It's like, oh, you're choosing yourself? Yes, I'm going to bring forward exactly what you're calling into play, into being, right? Because you're choosing the sacred yes inside.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings all the magical experiences that can mirror that to you when you really lean in. And it's the same if you lean out and you don't choose yourself and you choose more people pleasing acts
Mm-hmm.
of, where you put others before yourself, then it compounds that, and it stacks it on. So it's like to help you see that you're doing that, right? And then that's what the breakdown comes, where you're like, man, why am I stuck in this pattern of like always people pleasing or over giving to others or putting others first, right? That's that
Mm-hmm.
subjugation piece you're pleasing. So it's like letting go of that is actually leaning in and choosing what you're saying, is choosing your heart, choosing yourself as a gift, that, your sacred intuition inside is a gift. And listening to it and allowing the spaciousness to be whole in your life in that place and move from that place and make aligned choices from that place lays down the patterning of subjugation, lays down the patterning of not allowing yourself to be whole in your choices, right? That you can choose yourself, and that it's not allowing honoring other people in your life, that it's actually when you choose yourself, it's honoring yourself and honoring others.
Mm-hmm.
That it can be both.
Self-honoring choices are other honoring as well.
Yes.
So in our culture, we're really taught to self-abandon, and this is the essence of codependency. So this is my work in the world, is helping people solve their self-abandonment programming, as well as the places where they choose. They don't even know that they're being codependent, especially women, because we're taught to serve others. And let's face it, that if we are self-abandoning in front of our children, that we train our children to do the same thing, and people around us and our friends. And we also, it has such a ripple. So when we make self-honoring choices without harming others, there's like, you don't have to be like, oh, well, I'm going to cut off someone's big toe because that's, my own self-honor. Just it's really a,
It's not self-honoring.
I'm going to an extreme to make a point.
Yes.
But it really is that when I make self-honoring choices and I say, hey, Dawn, I need like some space, or I need and I do it in a way that's compassionate and loving to her. She's like, oh yeah, because she knows that I'm going to come back in full force, or, hey, I need to go on a vacation, go out, and you come back and I'm in full force. And I'm like, I'm here, present and ready, because I've nourished my own container. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see is a lot of people lose their creativity in the obligation, in the nothing. And that's something that you don't have to participate in anymore if you don't want to. Like if you're seeing all the resentment build up because you're choosing other people's needs first before self-sourcing at all, is that love? Is that showing up in your authenticity? Is that showing up? Not really. You want to get real about it. So that's a really important piece, is to really show up from your authentic fuck yes, and show up in your authentic inspired living so that you can be the creative force horse that you are.
Yes.
Be the creative force. I love that.
Yes. Get on the creative force horse. Yeah, I wanted to speak to that a little bit too, Trish, because one of the things I've seen is not only are people, particularly women, or anyone who's in a practice of subjugation, or like an understanding that subjugation is the way to be, or codependency is the way to be. Not only are they just not giving themselves the space for self-care and creativity, but also at times they're using that sense of obligation as an excuse for not creating. So I've worked with people, and myself included, there's something I know I'm called to create, but there's a fear that's happening when I feel that call to create, right? The fear of it's not going to be good enough. It's not ready. People are going to see it. I don't know what it's going to be yet. And so I start to let all of my sense of obligation, derail me, because it's like this ornate way of procrastinating, right? So it's like, and so it can be a little tricky here. We have to watch ourselves with this. Okay, am I not only subjugating my creative desire because I have a sense of responsibility or codependency, but am I also using that as an excuse to not let my creativity come forward? And this is also because we're inheriting so much of this playing smallness. It's not just ours. We're carrying we're carrying so much of this burden from so many generations of subjugated beings, not just women, subjugated beings, period. So it's when I get into that space of, okay, there's a call, should I do it or not? I think about all of that. I think about all the women who didn't have the wherewithal to know, or all the subjugated lines of people who didn't have the space or opportunity to rise and communicate. And I'm like, let's do this, everyone. It's all coming out, right? So, I mean, it's just, it's tricky.
It's actually our spiritual responsibility to do so.
Yeah. To
right?
stand.
To choose that inside. When we feel that repression or making an excuse, this is the place where I can make an excuse for not, right? When we're feeling that, that's our spiritual responsibility to rise in that place, to choose it, to not believe the stories in our minds that want to say it's not good enough, or I'm not in the right position, or all the things that our mind wants to say to make us choose not to do it, right? And put it off.
Yeah. Or I don't know why I want to do this. What's the point of me doing this? Or I want to do this, but I also want to do X, Y, and Z too. You just have to start, you just have to start.
Start where you are.
I really think that if people understood how harmful living out of obligation or being codependent is about people pleasing, if they knew how absolutely destructive and harmful it is to other people's reality, that they probably just stop doing it. Because the way, like, if I'm gonna, oh, I can't do this thing because Dawn needs me. Like, that puts so much weight on her. Instead of being like, no, I actually don't want to do it. It's not the right time for me. And I want to do it, but I want to move into it from a place of creativity, of inspiredness. But if I'm like utilizing someone as, you know, as like a stop, it's destructive. It's harmful for my relationship to put that much weight on her. It's also harmful to, you know, to please out of inauthenticity. How can she trust me?
Powerful. Thank you for saying that, bringing that forward. It's really, really such a good point.
I've been really chipping away at this last week. All I get to do is sit on the couch and think. No, I get to do a lot of things. And one of the things I do is leg up on the couch, thinking about why people do what they do. Welcome to my life. Oh, thank you so much for bringing this inspiration and this conversation to not only our viewers, but us. I've often joked that our show has become couples therapy for Dawn and I. We do work together. And that's the cool thing about having guests who are really powerful and on point and really sharing from their authentic heart and their body of knowledge. And it's so, thank you. I'm so grateful, and it's so juicy. And thank you, Natanya, for being here and for being a powerhouse in the world.
Aw.
We just love you so much. I love you.
Aw.
You're amazing, and I firmly believe in your art and who you are and what you bring into the world. I'm standing with you in this really powerful way of like, yes, shine your light as bright as you can, because this is it. You know, like you're here to make a ripple effect in many, many, many people's lives, and I just am so excited to support you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here and share with you and co-create this incredible conversation. Really inspiring.
It is so inspiring. This conversation has deeply inspired me. I'm like, ooh, I get to go integrate this into my life now. It's exciting.
Again, check out all of Natanya's links that I posted in the comment box. If not, reach out to the Self-Love Show, myself, or Dawn Light, or stalk Natanya Ruth. I don't know how many Natanya Ruths are out in the world, but I'm sure you can stalk her somewhere on the internet.
Yeah. At Natanya Ruth on Instagram.
Yeah, I was going to say your Instagram too.
All right. And if you all are interested in joining Dawn and my group for Reclaim Your Trust is a group for women, and we invite you to show up and really, you know, reclaim your inner trust, reclaim your trust for the world, and reclaim your trust for all of humanity. And I'm going to post that in right now.
Thank you.
Thank you all for showing up today and watching and participating. And thank you, Natanya. Thank you, Dawn Light. And special thanks to Scott and Love Coach Academy all the time. And Sign Network for sharing us out to almost 50 pages at this moment.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much for your support, all of you, and your work in the world. Stay great.
Yeah. Have an amazing week. And thank you again, Natanya, for being here. We just support you so much and love you dearly.
See you next week.
Thanks so much.
Have an amazing week.